Evening to everybody present and everybody watching online. As the chairperson for the Public Speaking Society in 2020, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all for the Public Speaking Inter-House Public Speaking Competition for 2020, Junior Edition. This year has been a stressful one, and we've all seen activities being stripped from us. Whether it's socializing with friends, working in groups, or going to the movies, we have seen a change in our reality. But luckily, we cannot say the same for public speaking. In the society, we've been hard at work and determined to continue the annual Inter-House Public Speaking Competition, although it might look a little differently this year. As we're running with the new model, allow me to introduce the program for the evening. Firstly, we'll have the junior speakers come up and give us their prepared speeches, followed by feedback from the judges, and we'll have a repeat of that where they'll come back and give us their unprepared speeches, followed by feedback from the judges. And at the end of the night, the manager for public speaking, Mr. King Daniels, will come and announce the best overall speaker, the best prepared speech, and the best unprepared speech. But there's a catch, as there's a new award that's being tallied out for this event. You, from the comfort of your home, can accumulate house points for the Spirit Award, which will be given to a potential house at the end of the year. All you need to do is comment emojis in the color of your house or comment in support of your house in the live chat section of this video. A lot has changed this year, but for the gist, everything has stayed the same. Passionate speakers, hot topics for prepared speeches, and of course, nerves for the impromptu speech. But don't let me get ahead of myself. Allow me to introduce the judges for the competition. Bonga Vilakazi and Emma Baines. To describe Emma attended Parklands College for her entire schooling career and matriculated in 2013. Although shy growing up, she discovered a passion for public speaking in grade 7. She joined the debating team that year, and since then she's been hooked. She attended the Western Cape Provincial competition, and Emma was selected to participate in the provincial trials. From then on, she was selected for the debating team and selected for trials a couple more times, as well as attended NIPISC in Cape Town and Joburg. However, the public speaking achievement she's most proud of is winning the forum discussion competition for the first time in grade 11 and being the chairperson in her matric year. To describe Bonga is a first-year chemical engineering student at UCT. Bonga has been involved in public speaking and debating since 2018. Over the course of 2 years, he has completed multiple competitions. These include NIPISC, the Cape Town Open, most notably Worlds, in which he placed 6th in the persuasive speaking category. Bonga is currently a part of the Western Cape UCT Debating Union and is an adjudicator in Jersey for the Akora tournament, which brings debaters from all over Africa to compete online. I wish all the speakers the best for the evening. Thank you.
Hi Parklands, I'm Justin.
And I'm Una.
Your house prefects. And your hosts.
Tonight you'll be hearing some passionate speeches that will get you thinking.
About what?
About religion, education, inspiration, and perfection.
The first speaker to the podium is Imra from Yale, and she will be talking about religion at school.
We all want to be happy, don't we? For some, this lies in academic success. For others, it's popularity at school or amongst their peers. Karl Marx, a German philosopher in the 1800s, actually said very little about religion directly, but he made a very important observation, which was the fact that oppressors used religion to make people feel better about the distress they experienced due to being poor and exploited. Hence, he coined the saying that religion is the opiate of the masses. Well, if this is true, then you could say that happiness lies in religion. And if religion has this type of power, why aren't we practicing religious beliefs at school? Having depressed, bored learners is common at almost any school. But according to widespread studies, like the one at the Abu Dhabi Department of Education or the Pew Research Center in the US, religious-based schools seldom have this problem. So the question arises, why would religious-based schools produce happier learners? This can be due to either the stability, care and comfort these schools provide, or the religious-based friendships that are formed there. Yet religion and education all too often gets a bad press. Critics argue that it has no place in schools, which should be free from intolerance and extremism, which they say religion entails. Faith is irrelevant in everyday life, they claim. Keep it in the churches, mosques and temples for the few who attend it. In a diverse, pluralist society, religion offers only segregation and ignorance, where in fact, on the contrary, religion in education is more important now than it has probably ever been before. The secondary school years are quite turbulent for most adolescents, regardless of their family's socioeconomic status or their home neighborhood. Adolescence is a time for identity formation and individuation away from their family of origin, whilst moving towards increased conformity with peers. Whilst a strong sense of religion actually keeps the adolescents with their family of origin, conformity with peers often contributes to the confusion associated with adolescence. Conformity or fitting in with peers takes an enormous significance in adolescence. And guess what? A study done by Tolham and Ogbu said that academic achievement is directly related to your desire for peer acceptance. Peer pressure therefore appears to be a powerful force affecting educational choices. How does religion, though, on a practical level, help us to achieve success? Religion, at its core, doesn't ask you to change your behavior. It asks you to change the way you see the world. It asks you for a different view. Despite this, let's look at the behavioral consequences of religion. Studies found direct correlation between religion and academics. Personal beliefs in specific religious figures doesn't affect academic success. It is the values that are emphasized in religion that will improve academic achievement. So, how could religion benefit students? A study completed by the University of California, Los Angeles, determined that students involved with religion were more likely to have an increase in self-esteem, a greater satisfaction in life, in college life, and their direction in life. So after reading all these studies relating to religion and academic success, it seems to boil down to these essential elements. Religion enforces discipline and structure. It teaches one to sit still for longer periods of time, allowing one's concentration and focus to increase. I relate to all of this on a very personal level. In Islam, every day, I pray at established times, which is at sunrise, midday, and then again at sunset. These prayers are non-negotiable and are a daily habit. This has really taught me discipline and to stick to a routine. During the month of Ramadan, in which I fast, I again learn very valuable lessons. I learn patience, I learn to delay my gratification, and by reducing my focus on food, I learn to focus more on my inner needs. So even Karl Marx couldn't deny the fact that religion had certain practical functions in society that were similar to the function of opium in an injured person. It reduced one's immediate suffering and provided them with pleasant illusions which gave them the strength to carry on. And as teens, in our most troubled years, schools tend to turn us towards therapy and peer support, in which, granted, there may be a benefit. But religion may actually appear to be granting us a more permanent and long-lasting solution. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Morgan. My speech is entitled New Routine, New You. Keeping your spirits high and staying inspired during lockdown is a very difficult thing to do. I'm here to help you do that. With the spread of coronavirus all over the world, people's lives have changed almost instantly. I don't think I need to remind you that the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in a massive change of daily life, from wearing a mask in public and not being able to visit your friends, to online school. Sadly, many people have lost their lives during the pandemic. This is a very sad time for all of the economy and the family members whose lives have been lost. This has affected the economy drastically. It is very hard to stay inspired during lockdown, but I'm here to help you improve your mindset and avoid the lockdown blues. The first step is to keep a positive perspective. Think of it this way. Never in history has it ever been easier for us to be a hero and save lives. Forget about capes. All you need to do to save lives is wash your hands, wear a mask, and keep a 2-meter distance. Sadly, some people have not been obeying the social distancing rules by going outside without wearing a mask. This is unacceptable. The social distancing rules are only here to protect you and the people around you. Due to lockdown, we couldn't see our friends face to face, but luckily we live in a time with very advanced technology to help us through that. There are many different apps and platforms that we can use. Examples are WhatsApp, WeChat, Zoom, Google Meet, and the list goes on. So a phone call is all you need to stay in touch. It won't always be easy to stay positive though. Many people have lost their jobs during lockdown and are all by themselves. It's okay to feel sad, upset, or overwhelmed. Try to talk about those feelings and remember no matter what. Positivity doesn't mean pretending things aren't bad. It's remembering that things will get better. The COVID storm will be followed by a rainbow. My next piece of advice is to treat yourself like a houseplant. Yes, you heard me right, a plant. With everything going on, it's important to stay hydrated, get a lot of sun and fresh air daily. Vitamin D and exercise are essential for a growing mind. Too little of these things can even contribute to depression. So get those bodies moving and out in the sunshine. Did you know that there are many online courses to help you stay fit and active during lockdown? Some people have even run a whole marathon in their back garden, while raising money for charity at the same time. Now that's what I call commitment. During lockdown, it is important to keep a routine and stay productive. Keeping up with your schoolwork and setting small goals for yourself can help you remember the bigger picture. Even something like making your bed every morning can help you feel more positive and more accomplished throughout the day. And remember, even though this is our new normal, that doesn't mean that everything has to change. I would like to end off with a quote for you. I learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. That quote was from Nelson Mandela. I know this may be a very scary time for all of you, but this is my message of hope. Things will get better. Remember that. Thank you.
Tonight you'll be hearing persuasive speeches and after-dinner speeches.
Persuasive speeches are designed to sway the listener to the speaker's point of view. Their job is to persuade you to their side of the argument.
While the idea of an after-dinner speech is to entertain the guests after they've eaten dinner, it usually happens at the end of an evening. The point of an after-dinner speech is to entertain the audience and leave them on a positive note.
Back to action. Let's hear it for Harvard and Cambridge. We have Jean-Michel talking about perfection, and we have Armani talking about online learning.
Perfection. The conditioned state or quality of being free from all flaws or defects. I think the actual definition should be a 10-letter word describing something that doesn't exist. See, perfection is a virus, a tumor, a growth. It infects the mind of those it attaches itself to until it eventually destroys its host. I despise the very word perfection. It has driven me crazy for years. I was guided by fear, constantly comparing myself to my peers, stressing and striving to reach an idea that only existed in here. Oh, you thought perfection was real? Well, I have to disagree. Think of it like this. Have you ever seen the perfect tree? They all have a little something that doesn't quite sit so perfectly. Some lean this way and some lean that. Some have a little too much moss and some have a whole bunch of bark that's been ripped off. Yet somehow, they're all still beautiful. So how come when it comes to people, our perception of beauty is altered? We dissect ourselves and others into pieces, thinking perfection is somehow attainable, leaving us feeling exhausted and defeated. Ladies and gentlemen, there are two doors in life.
The first leads to a life where we are idolized as being perfect and admired by all. The second is real, where our flaws are seen as what makes us our own type of beautiful, and our differences are celebrated. I'd choose the second in a heartbeat, and I'd never look back, because life is too unpredictable and we never truly know how much time we have left to make the most of it. I'd rather not spend my whole life choosing something that doesn't exist. Perfection is as good as a figment of our imagination, so it wouldn't make sense to pretend it's reality. Create your own expression. Colour outside the lines. Be the marble that doesn't quite roll right. Do the dance that no one's ever seen before. And embrace it when people stop and stare. I mean, if the Leaning Tower of Pisa was straight, nobody would really care. Beauty is born when mistakes are made, so don't worry about being first and getting it right. Learn to embrace your mistakes. They are to be savoured. Failure is the condiment that gives success its flavour, and true success is being yourself in a world that's constantly trying to change you into someone else. I watched a video the other day of a Japanese tradition called kintsugi. If an object breaks, they fill its cracks with pure gold, because they believe that when something suffers damage and has a history, it is all the more beautiful. So I stand before you today and I say, love your cracks. And you may see them as broken, but I believe that that's the way that the light can shine through. And if you have no one in your corner, then consider me your supporter, while we stand and smile together when society tries to diagnose and scrutinize our gifts. Please believe me when I say you do not need to be the perfect person with the perfect makeup or perfect skills or even the perfect build. Because the truth is, real people aren't perfect, and perfect people aren't real.
Over 100 years ago, a classroom was a teacher, some students, tables, and chairs. Today, a classroom is a teacher, some students, tables, and chairs. But sometimes instead of books, we replace it with an iPad. Instead of a chalkboard, we replace it with a whiteboard, a TV, a projector. But what in the classroom has actually changed? Our world is forever changing, and 2020 is proof of that. This change last year, it's been crazy. And I'm pretty sure that most of you weren't sitting last year being like, oh, this year we're gonna have a pandemic, a country on lockdown with alcohol and cigarette bans, and a school closing. Anyone? In this very uncertain time, many have started online learning. But what does it mean to work online? What does it mean to learn online? And is it effective? Today, I'm not going to tell you that online learning is better than traditional one, or homeschooling. I'm simply going to tell you why it is effective. Online learning can be controversial, because many think that face-to-face learning is the only way one can truly learn. But this is not the case. In 2014, a New York Times article declared a year of massive open online courses. 2 years later, MIT conducted a detailed study by letting learners take the same class, except the catch was one was online and one was in the classroom. They found that the online classes can really teach as effective as a traditional class, regardless of how much knowledge they had in the first place. Another research paper that was supported by Google, the National Science Foundation, and MIT said that online learning is effective because students learn more than in traditional classes, retention rates are higher by 25 to 60%, online learning requires less time investment and typically requires 40 to 60 less employee time, and it also is better for our environment. I would like to ask who of you drive to school every single day? How long does it take you? Now times that number by 2 for your way back home, and times that number by 203, which is the number of days 2020 was supposed to have according to the Department of Basic Education. That's a lot. The difference is that what is better for you? Purdue University Global bases it on these factors: your extracurricular activities, where you live, your home life, your learning style, and is it comfortable for you communicating online through platforms? Or do you prefer in-person communication? Learning online means learners to have the same sense of responsibility, but it also means learners have a better chance of becoming more responsible. It also has a greater convenience and flexible that allows you to learn from anywhere. It is incredibly easy to go and relearn something because the content is always online and classes are normally recorded, so you can just watch them like 100 times. It is incredibly helpful for you to do this because challenging topics can be hard. Online education then can serve two goals. For students lucky enough to have access to great teachers, blended learning from you with better outcomes at the same or lower cost. And for the millions here and abroad who lack access to good in-person education, online learning can open many doors that could otherwise remain closed. Daphne Collins, thank you.
Okay, hi Emra. So I'm going to start with your prepared speech and then we're going to talk about your impromptu. First, the prepared. I think it was pretty good actually. I genuinely enjoyed the speech. Like I thought you had a good analysis of like how this kind of thing works, giving us statistics to support your points. But I also appreciated one particular thing from your speech, and that you took the time to consider the critics' argument against religion in school, talking about how secularism and how religion can enforce like bad cultural standards, talking about how religion shouldn't be in public life. I appreciated that like way up you made because I think it made your arguments a lot stronger and a lot more credible in my eyes as an audience member and as an adjudicator.
And then on your persuasive speeches, again, very interesting topics, a variety of topics that you guys chose that were all linked to you personally, which is very important when you're doing a persuasive speech. So well done for that. I think all of you spoke very well, and yeah, so that's my feedback.
Hello, Jean-Michel. So about your prepared speech, the theme is perfection doesn't exist. So I appreciated the fact that you gave us an analysis on like what perfection is, how it isn't real, and how life is too unpredictable in terms of like how things work for you to be aiming towards perfection, which isn't a guarantee that you can ever reach. So I appreciate the effort you put in to give analysis on that. And I also appreciated your adherence to things like speech structure and just general demeanor in terms of hand gestures and etc.
Now we will move on to the second half of the junior competition, impromptu speeches. Unam, what are impromptu speeches?
These are speeches that the contestants get 2 minutes to prepare. They have a choice of 3 topics and they are allowed to make notes, but they cannot bring the notes to the podium.
Let's see what the juniors come up with. But first, audience, don't forget that your support could win your house the house spirit. Please type in the comments down below which house you're supporting.
So the colour red. Red has always been something that I relate to disappointment to. And whenever I hear the word disappointment, I think of only one thing in my life, my robotics experience. When I was in grade 5, it was my first year of doing robotics. Now I'm going into this as if it's something nice, it's something new, I'm excited. So I walk into the robotics room, the first thing I see is a bunch of boys. So I realize, okay, this isn't a girl's subject, but it's a boy's subject. Nonetheless, I walk in, it's fine. I see all the boys, it's okay, I get into my team that the teacher put me in due to the fact that I'm the only girl. And so we work together, we do coding, we program, we build, normal stuff. I enjoy it, a lot of the time I just watch them do their thing, but I still helped nonetheless. Now the day of the competition comes and I'm nervous, more nervous than I've ever been before. And I watch and I see that there's a lot of people, there's actually some girls as well, so I felt a little more comfortable. And then we had to run our robot, obviously. Now I watch our robot and I see it do things that I actually didn't see it do before. And yet it finishes the course, it gets full points. I'm like, wow, okay, that did not do what it was supposed to do, but it got full points. And luckily we made it to nationals. Now I'm excited, it's my first year and I'm already making it to nationals. So I make it to nationals, we didn't make it to internationals, but it was still a good experience. And now I'm thinking, okay, I'm doing this the next year. Grade 6, I do it again, we go to the regional competition, and again, we make it to nationals. Except this time at nationals, we make it to internationals. And now, this is my first time going to Thailand. And I'm excited. We didn't really do that well in Thailand, but still, it was still a good experience. So now I'm coming last year in grade 7, and I'm thinking, wow, okay, I'm good at this, I can do this. And then I go into this regional competition last year, and I watched my robot do something that I definitely didn't program it to do. This robot starts turning in circles when I definitely didn't program it to do that. It starts doing weird things, I tell you. And we don't even make it past the regional round. And this has really taught me that success isn't a constant, and that I really need to not take it for granted. This has been a real lesson for me, and I will always remember it for the rest of my life. Thank you.
I've had it with racism. Why is it that one person can get more just because of the colour of their skin? This doesn't make sense. Racism, may I remind you, has been around for a very long time. It's never been okay, and it never will be okay. Whether you're black, white, Indian, coloured, it doesn't matter. Everyone should be able to live in a safe, secure environment without having to feel threatened because of the colour of their skin. We are all equal. Everyone is a person, and we should all be treated equally because we are a person. And it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Indian, as I say again. This is the world, and people have to learn to accept someone for who they are. Thank you.
Don't forget to show your support. Up next, Harvard and Cambridge.
Be yourself, everyone else is already taken. Oscar Wilde. You see, living in today's society is so difficult, especially for a teenager. Everyone's already created this image of someone that you want to be, someone that is always better than you. Have you ever heard of that saying that someone is always better than you? Well, it's not true, because your best is your best, and someone may be better than you in your mind, but at the end of the day, you are the best you can be. Everyone is unique. Someone's hair will be different than the other, someone's skin is different, and we've been made like that for a reason. So why do we discriminate against each other and choose to make it a derogatory meaning, this perfection, instead of creating and having it be this word that means beautiful? It means we're fantastic. We should celebrate our differences instead of scrutinizing them and diagnosing them. Because at the end of the day, that'll create a world where we were all unhappy instead of one where we are all positive and radiate this vibrant energy. Thank you.
I remember when I lived in Mozambique. It was beautiful, it was sunny, as it is now. But it was different. It was different than today. It was different than now. It was different in this very, very moment. I remember when I used to ride a bicycle and it was safe. I remember when it was beautiful and the wind was howling and it was fine. I remember when people could come close to me and I shouldn't do anything. I remember when it was safe. I remember when I used to have my dad teach me things. I remember when my mom would bake. It was different. It was safe. It was my happy place. Thank you.
Hello, Amani. Now we move to your impromptu, which is basically about, I think, memories or nostalgia. It wasn't quite clear to me. Maybe speak more about different examples of how memories are important to us, for example. But altogether, I think this was a solid attempt. And I think that you can still have a lot of time to improve and grow as a public speaker, and I wish you luck in doing that.
Hi juniors, thank you so much for your speeches. I really enjoyed each and every one. I'm just going to give some general feedback. So just something general to touch on, and I'm going to start with the impromptu speeches, and it's something that I picked up on all of your speeches, is that try and structure it like you would structure a normal speech. So it must have a beginning, a middle, and an end. An introduction, some points, and a conclusion. That's very important. It's not just your opinion or a whole bunch of statements put together on the topic. It is actually a speech that you are given, and I want to feel like this is something that you maybe have prepared. Impromptu speeches are a skill. They're not something you're just going to be able to do overnight. So they are something that you're going to need to practice.
Morgan, right? Now for your impromptu. I think that while you did do really well in terms of your expressiveness, showing your anger towards racism, and so on and so forth, I think again it's important to kind of just give a deeper level of analysis in terms of the issues you face. So not only talking about how racism affects you, but also show me maybe how racism is morally wrong. Show me how why it's so very wrong for us to see other people as lesser than us because of our race or the color of our skin. And also maybe you could have included an analysis about how racism looks in society, talking about things like apartheid, or let's say Jewish people in Nazi Germany. These things I think would make your speech a lot stronger, and I think they'd also help in terms of making your impromptu more robust, because I thought that you could have used a bit more time. You used 1 minute. And so I think that it's important to use as much time as you can, as far as you can.
That concludes the junior section of the evening. Audience, if you thought that was good, just wait until you see the seniors.
And never fear. Through the magic of time, the judges have deliberated and the scores have been locked in. Mr. King and Daniels will announce the results shortly.
We want to give thanks to everyone online who supported the speakers this evening. We have some very talented speakers. Well done, everyone.
Join us for the seniors next week.
The judges' marks are in, and it is my pleasure to announce that the best impromptu speech was by Jean-Michel de Blanche. The best prepared speech was by Armani Sadat. And the best overall speaker for the junior competition is Imra Sali. Congratulations to you all and everyone who took part.
Wow, everyone! And that concludes the inter-house public speaking competition for the juniors. After a long evening of hard-hitting topics that make us question the world around us from these bright young ladies, I have to say, I'm proud to be a part of this school. To extend thanks, I'd first like to thank the judges, Emma and Bonga, for taking time out of their lives to listen to these girls speak and to listen to their hearts. I hope that you'll be impressed by their speeches and will see good results in the future. I'd like to extend the thanks to Ms. Dodders for allowing this event to happen in the first place. I'd like to thank Mr. Weingard and Ms. Esther Hazen for their involvement and guidance in regards to everything regarding the house tournaments. And lastly, I'd like to thank Mr. King and Daniels, who decided to take up the role of being the manager of public speaking for 2020. It's been a crazy year, but you've kept a cool head and led us all and supported us all, and we appreciate you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. Good night.